All right, you have stumbled on episode number 0001, right? I started counting at 0 because I'm an electrical engineer, well, whatever. Anyways, so welcome to this episode of Locked in My Office. I'm your host, Dr. Shane Overwear, and in this episode, I talked to one of my students, Jack Fuhrman. And in this conversation, we touch on all sorts of things like something that's really common for students at Michigan Tech is being in a distant relationship, and so what that's like and some of the hardships, to things like being so stressed that you get heart problems and being so stressed that you don't even realize that you're stressed. So it's a very interesting conversation, and I'm really, really thankful to have you listening to this second episode, and I hope you enjoy. All right. We had a false start, but this is take 2 of the second episode of Locked Inside My Office. Currently locked inside my office with Jack Fuhrman. And before I introduce you, right, I got to say 3 things just to get them out of the way. One is you're not protected from any self-incrimination, so if you say something, you could get expelled. 2 is if you're in any sort of danger, I don't think I'm like mandated yet, but I'm going to tell somebody about it.
Sure.
And then 3, anything that we say does not necessarily reflect the views of the university. So now I've covered my butt. So Jack Fuhrman, you're in my microcontrollers class. You sit like in the 3rd row back in the left consistently. Why do you do that?
I don't know. I used to sit far in the back because I was in your digital logic class. And, you know, I used to sit in the way back and I just couldn't pay attention back there. Then my eyes kind of deteriorated, so now I'm sitting up close. So
you don't have glasses on, do you?
No.
Are you like... I had a high school teacher who I'm very good friends with that for the longest time, like up into like almost like his like 50s, like pushed back against getting glasses just because he thought it might make people think he was old or something. Do you have that thing, or
No.
It's not that bad yet?
So my eyes aren't that bad yet. I didn't have health insurance for a while, so I didn't want to pay for glasses. It was more of I just didn't want to pay for them.
Gotcha.
Now I just sit closer.
Gotcha.
No need to pay for it if I can still see somewhat.
So, and now one of the goals was to have like nice, genuine conversation, and I really liked where we were talking until I realized that I made a mistake. So we're gonna go back to it. We were talking about stealing catalytic converters, believe it or not. And you were working at Milwaukee because that's okay. So the conversation went like this, and now it's even lamer. So I'm really sad that I screwed that up. So, talking about catalytic converters, Jack said you would have an easy time because you worked at Milwaukee. You could just steal the tools.
I could steal a good couple tools, you know, really get what I need.
Yeah, so what was it like working at Milwaukee?
Super fun. You know, they're young, they're growing, so it's a lot about the employees rather than the product. I mean, they still care immensely about the product. They put out some of the greatest tools on the market, especially with them all being cordless.
Do they make any corded tools now, or is it all?
You know, they occasionally have an idea for one, but I haven't heard of them putting out a corded tool in a long time. So I don't believe so. I think they had a pledge maybe 2 years ago that they were just going to be fully cordless, battery-powered, reusable energy by 2030. So I believe they're getting rid of it entirely. So.
Right camera, yeah. Okay, so another thing that I know about you is you were involved in Greek life. And I don't really know, all I have is like stereotypes of what Greek life is. So what's your day-to-day in Greek life look like? Just out of curiosity.
Sure. So I'm in Kappa Delta Psi. We're the copper roof behind WADS. So not the box right next to public safety, and not the crazy guys a little bit further up the hill.
Who's the crazy guys?
Theta Tau.
Okay.
There's some crazy people there. They're fun. They're nice guys. But no, we're the copper roof. Our house is pretty old. It looks cool. But so right now I don't hold any position in the house. I'm one of the older guys. I just kind of help out and advise. But day to day, we don't really do much. It's not like it's constantly partying every single day, going out, drinking all the time. It's a lot, especially nowadays, it's a lot of just hang out with the guys. So day to day, I don't do a whole lot, but on the weekends, it's usually, well, at least last weekend we did our retreat. So we just spent the weekend in the house with all the guys, cooked some food with each other, and just hung out and actually got to know each other a little bit better. So there's not a whole lot that we do. I know some of the stereotypes are always like, oh, they go to the bar every day, they drink and do drugs and party, and, in reality, we're a lot more tame. I've heard, at least for our frat, that we are the sort of relaxed, not fratty frat. So that could be a different story for other fraternities, but at least for us, it's just, we're chill. We just hang out.
Is there any culture of like pranks? Like amongst
Big time.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
Big time. The best prank that I think I've seen go through the house was flipping people's furniture. Okay. So anytime that you left the house, you needed to lock your room door, because if you left and you kept it unlocked, your furniture was going to be upside down. It was a guarantee.
Just like flip.
Just
so not
flipped.
like glued to the ceiling, not like that.
No, nothing glued to the ceiling, but every single item was flipped and neatly flipped. It wasn't like we just threw it everywhere. Everything was in the exact same position, but perfectly flipped over.
Yeah.
It was hilarious. A lot of people got really angry about it, but it was so funny.
I love those pranks that they're infuriating, but they're not like super damaging or like they're easy to recreate or to correct. Like, so the kids that I went to undergrad with, we were on our formula team. I wasn't part of a frat, but it was still like my big cluster of like folks that I hung out with. We had a little bit of a culture of pranking, and I probably was the biggest offender of like pranks. And I did some really, really mean ones too, but it was really funny because I got a whole bunch of them, and fast forward to like not several years, like a year after I graduated, I got married, and so it was about like 8 or 9 of them, or maybe 10 of them, and then one of their moms also showed up. They all bought the same exact toaster, like the same toaster from Walmart, and so I got like 9 or 10 toasters, all the same. Gosh. Which is funny because I mean, like, all I had to do was bring them all back to Walmart and like do an exchange, and so it was basically they were giving me cash, but in the crappiest currency form ever.
Right.
And I just remember like the biggest person that was affected by the prank was like the pissed off person that was working at Walmart that had to like parse all of them.
10 toasters.
Yeah. 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 No, because kids aren't on Facebook anymore, right? That's the thing. Like nobody's on Facebook.
Not really. I'm on Facebook, and actually I know at least a lot of my close friends are on Facebook solely for Facebook Marketplace. Yeah. Just to find cool deals around town.
Yeah, it's like eclipsed like Craigslist kind of. It's like
a little bit more monitored.
Yeah, I feel like it's just less janky. Yeah. Anyways, we had like a lot of like Facebook pranks, and like the one that I was like the most proud of was you go in and alter their birthday to be tomorrow. And so, because a lot of kids wouldn't bring their laptops back in those days, and they just used lab computers, and they'd leave their Facebook on. And so you'd go through, if they left their Facebook on, you change their birthday tomorrow, and a bunch of people that don't know when their birthday is, they would see a little notification, hey, it's your birthday. You'd be like, oh, happy birthday. And so you'd wake up in the morning and be like, what is going on? Yeah.
I can't tell these people it's not my birthday.
Yeah, and it was like, there was this challenge where if you change your birthday more than 2 times, Facebook won't let you change it like ever again.
Oh,
and so like
no.
if it gets locked again, yeah.
That'd be so funny. It's locked on the wrong day.
So you're engaged. You told me that.
I am. Got engaged in August of this year.
That's exciting.
Yeah. I've been with my fiance Rose for close to 5 years now. This month will be 5 years.
Did you guys meet in college? Were you high school sweethearts? Or?
High school sweethearts. We worked together at a ski shop downstate, and I was trying to talk to her for probably about 2 or 3 years before she started to remember my name and my face. So,
Yeah.
But we started dating in high school, my junior year, her senior year. She's a year older than I am, and it's gone really well since then.
Is she up at Tech, or is it a distance relationship?
Distance relationship.
Oh, man.
So, yeah, a little brutal. But.
Well, can you elaborate on the brutalness?
Sure. So she went to Ohio State. She studied animal sciences there, and she's going for her vet degree. So she's got to go to vet school a little bit longer. But long distance, honestly, I would never wish it on anyone. It is truly terrible.
Yeah, and so many people at Tech are like
Big
doing
time.
it.
Yeah. And, it's a lot of people view it as like, oh, you just are on the phone all the time. You're never really going out. And it makes your life really difficult because you want to have friends in person as well as be friends with your significant other. And, I found, thankfully, Rose is a wonderful person and truly, I hope, loves me and loves being with me. So it wasn't very difficult, but it was just brutally tiresome. I mean, most of the time, I'm spending my day thinking about Rose would have really enjoyed this, or, it would have been really nice to grab pizza or coffee with her here. And, I see her once a semester, twice a semester if I'm lucky. So it wasn't easy. Summers were pretty much my time with her. She would always thankfully find an internship around me wherever I was.
So somewhere up here?
No, so she...
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
because at Milwaukee. So she worked at the Milwaukee Zoo for an internship, which she loved. She thought it was crazy, but I also thought it was crazy. She'd tell me stories of her going to pet grizzly bears and stuff. And that seems like a terrible idea. But she lived with me in Milwaukee, and then I was at Western Digital last spring for a co-op, and she came out and spent a decent amount of time in Rochester, Minnesota with me there as well. So she makes it work. She is a very, very hardworking woman and makes it a lot easier for me.
Do you guys like FaceTime like every night, kind of?
Yeah, we have almost like a nighttime ritual where it's like call and tell each other about our day and, spend at least half an hour with each other. Truly on the phone with each other. We're not really doing much else. So we're texting throughout the day, and I'll call her occasionally throughout the day. But she works a very strange schedule right now. She works at the Humane Society downstate. So she works 10-hour days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So just a terrible schedule.
Yeah.
I feel so bad for her. It's awful. But she gets lunches, and so I'll call her on her lunch, and she'll call me when she gets breaks. So
yeah. What, you have a good engagement story?
So I like to tell it as I proposed to her in a parking lot and don't say anything else. Yeah. But I did propose, which sounds terrible, but I did propose to her where we met. I brought her to the ski shop that we worked at.
Nice.
I have a little sticker on my phone that she got me of the exact coordinates that we met. And I brought her to the exact coordinates that we met. And
that's super cool.
Proposed to her there. She did not believe me at first. She's like, "Really? You're proposing to me?" And I was like, "Yep, I do want to spend the rest of my life with you."
Yeah.
But no, it was super nice. She had no idea it was coming, so it was cool.
Yeah, I was kind of lame. With my wife, obviously when we were dating, I don't know who to talk to about the fact I wanted to propose to her, and so I talked to her about I want to propose to you and all that stuff, and so there was no secrecy behind it, but I had did a very small prank where I bought my wife Sarah an album, it was I think it was a Volby album or something along those lines, and I was at her parents' house and got down on one knee and I handed it to her, and she was really pissed because she did not want to get engaged at her parents' house. But we got engaged on Mackinac Island. You ever been to Mackinac Island?
Oh, nice! That's awesome. I have been to Mackinac.
Yeah, we both kind of liked the place, because we both like riding bikes and all that, and so we had a 3-day out thing, that we were staying like a bed and breakfast, and and the funniest thing about that story was like we started off the very first day. We got on our bikes and we were gonna do a round around the island, you know.
Sure.
And I was like, oh look at this beach is named. It has a sign. Let's just do it right here, right at the very start of our trip here, so we can talk the whole rest of the time about the wedding. And so I engaged. She said, I engaged. I proposed. We got engaged. She said yes. Super cool. We hung out there for a while. And then afterwards, I was like, and look, we can always find the spot again because there's a sign. Like, I thought it was naming the beach. And it really says is like, bathroom, 3 miles.
Oh, no.
And I was like,
that's
whatever.
not what
I
we
mean,
wanted.
even if they take the sign down, they're probably not getting rid of the bathroom. So we
We'll
can
be close.
3 miles away from there, we can find
Right.
it. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's killer.
Yeah. So another thing I know about you is Dungeons and Dragons.
Big time.
Yeah, I feel like it's an easy way for me to connect with students because I've done just like informal surveys, and it seems like almost like 30 to 40% of students play D&D on campus, which I guess
yeah.
Michigan Tech is kind of a nerdy place, and so it's not that big of a surprise. But
Sure.
tell me about your relationship with D&D. Like, why is it important to you?
Sure. So, D&D obviously starts differently for a lot of people. I started playing in high school. A buddy of mine. So in high school, I did not go to the local high school. I got a scholarship to go to the Catholic high school nearby. So I went there for high school, and I still wanted to connect with still be friends with my friends that I grew up with in my community. So a buddy of mine texted me one day and was like, oh, we're going to start a D&D game. Have you ever played? And I had never played, and I was still wanting to hang out with them. So, of course, I went to go play. And first time I had ever played D&D, we just did a little one-shot. Pretty much it was just a undead pirate crew that started attacking our boat. And it was just fight off the undead pirate crew, make it to an island, and solve a puzzle for the gold inside of the treasure cove. And so it was kind of a weird introduction to D&D because we didn't do a lot of the NPC talking or really city building or anything.
It was mainly the mechanics.
Exactly. Just how to fight and how to do puzzles and how to engage in combat and all that. And it was super fun. I give a lot of credit to my buddy who designed the encounter and, planned everything for it and got us all together because I know it probably wasn't very easy. But I played a druid dragonborn and just transformed into a bear over and over and just started killing a bunch of skeletons. It was super fun.
You were a big meat shield.
Big meat shield. He did not realize, my DM at the time did not realize how tanky druids were. And he was like,
sure.
I'm going to homebrew druids after this. So it was very funny, but it was a lot of fun.
So what advice do you have for people that might want to get started in D&D that haven't?
Go for it. Truly, just if you want to play D&D, so like right now I'm a DM, and the people that I DM for, none of them have ever played D&D before. I just wanted to play D&D and was like, hey, I'll DM a game. Does anybody want to play? And it's 9 other frat guys. So
that's a big group.
It's a huge group, and I've never DM'd before. I've only ever played. So it was literally, I watched 2 YouTube videos and then watched or listened to Dimension 20. I don't know. Have you ever heard of them? Yeah, podcast of D&D with oh shoot, no, I'm forgetting his name. I can't remember his name, but I also listened to Critical Role with Matt Mercer.
Yeah, I have. I can't remember. I think it's like called the Matt Mercer effect or whatever, and that can be like a slippery slope because people will listen to like some of those like really professional podcasts.
Oh yeah.
And then they'll expect that to be their D&D experience,
and it's nothing like it.
Yeah. And so, so if you're starting out, I kind of think like temper your expectations, especially if you know like the other people are starting out.
Oh yeah.
I think like my other like starting advice that I give to almost everybody is like a lot of people are like skittish about like the role play part, and like
Dive
not for
into it.
you.
Oh no, I'm saying dive into it. It's
Oh, well, some people just have a hard time diving into it, or they can't like put this like new personality in their mind.
sure.
And so like I always just tell people like steal ideas.
Oh yeah.
pick a character that's like your character, like, oh, I'm a monk that's like Obi-Wan Kenobi or something along those lines.
Just act like him.
And then you just say like, what would Obi-Wan Kenobi do?
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's it's funny you say that. So I, especially with my game that I'm running right now, I dive right into it. Like I will get a voice for everybody. I'll do different accents, different tones, different ways they speak. I'll either slow down my speech or speed it up. And at least for the guys I play with, that makes it so much easier for them to get into character and just kind of goof around. And we do it at our fraternity. We have a library that has a big steel door. Mm-hmm. So we close the steel door. We kind of just say, this is our time. What happens here, we're not going to make fun of each other for. We're going to like get into it.
What's your favorite voice to do?
So the way I run this campaign right now is since they're all new, I was like, oh, I should probably have someone that sort of mentors them. Mm-hmm. And so the guild master, his name's
commonly recurring character.
Exactly. Pretty much someone that they go to whenever they have troubles. His name's Wheat Dimclaw. He's a Owlin druid, and he has sort of a regal voice, almost like he's noble, and sort of a little bit slower. So I just do like yes, it seems that you are failing your class, or something like that. And
does he have some wine? Yes,
exactly. He's holding a book or has a glass of wine. But, the guys really enjoy it. And I've gotten comments multiple times from people that are like, I really enjoy when you make this voice, or I liked that this guy was the only way we could really tell, because they've had encounters where it's fully dark and they don't know who's talking to them. Yeah. And so you can tell that someone's different by my voices. Yeah. And so they've really enjoyed that, and they've really liked the fact that I get into it as well as they do.
Yeah.
So makes it a little bit easier.
My favorite voice, I had this character that I played a while ago. His name was Dominic Bouldergrant. He was a dwarf, and so he had like the very like stereotypical like, oh great, like that voice.
Nice.
I loved doing that voice.
That's killer.
And so he was like hard of hearing too, and so he was always like, what? Like, when
yelling at people.
And so it's funny because like it's became like a meme in my friend circle where like if you don't hear somebody, you'll go like, what?
Scream in Dominic's voice.
Yeah, so that's awesome. That's a good feeling.
That's awesome. Are you running any games right now or playing?
Yeah, so I'm running one game right now, and so it's called The Search for Eladon, and it's all like a homebrew world.
Nice.
And it's I bit into this idea of like time travel related stuff.
Oh, nice.
And so it's created all these complexities of like, how do I handle this? Right. And they might listen to this, and so I don't want to like give too much away. But it's been kind of fun. Like for example, something that's already happened is they had to, early on in the adventure, they had to go to this graveyard and get the dirt from the oldest grave in like the graveyard, and it turned out to be one of them. Like it was their grave.
Wow. Okay.
And so what that implies is at some point they're in the past and they die. Yeah. Wow. And so
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So it's a, but so for those of you that don't know, dungeon masters, they usually have to do a lot of preparation beforehand where they like figure out what's going to happen and all these different possible things, that could happen. And my style is I like leave like these like threads that I can like connect back to later.
Yep.
And that was like a thread that I like left, and now like we're kind of approaching like the end of the campaign, and I'm like, shit, how am I going to reconnect back to that thread?
How do we get there?
Because they all like, it was like a thing that they all remember, and it was like, oh
shit, how do we get there?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. Back to like the frat thing.
Sure.
Do you guys ever like cry in front of each other? Like, is there that level of connection, or what's that like? Because I know you talked about like the judgment-free zone of like the D&D era.
Sure.
Do you also have that like in other capacities, or?
So it's funny you say that. So I think I said it earlier. We had retreat last week, or this literally 2 days ago. And so for a while, when I joined the organization, we did not have retreat. We just would, throw parties or just hang out. There wasn't really many events, and we started to get a little bit bigger. When I joined, we had 16 members. So, and now we have 34. So we've gotten a whole lot bigger.
Nice.
But about 2 years ago, the house was really kind of at each other's throats and really annoyed with each other. It's kind of the end of COVID, so we were still dealing with COVID, still dealing with masks and people getting sick, and when you have 15 people living in a house, it's really difficult. So, especially with some of them having significant others and wanting others having different beliefs, so it was getting really difficult, and I sat down with our president at the time and was like, listen, everybody's going to kill each other. I'm going to plan a retreat, and we're all going to be there. Everyone has to be there. And I've done retreats in the past, and I've run retreats in the past. And so I planned this elaborate retreat with no one having a phone and everybody just spending time together, no one knowing what's going to happen and no one knowing how long they're going to be there. And I changed all the clocks. I put trash bags over every window, so they had no idea what time it was, what day it was, when they were going to be done, and what they were doing next. And it quickly became the entire frat kind of banding together against me to try and figure out where their phones were, what time it was. They were just trying to figure anything they could out. And, I planned in events that would kind of get them to be more emotional and get to know each other better. And so at the time, we did not cry in front of each other. No, it was, if you cried in front of us, it was like, this is too uncomfortable.
Made fun of
yeah, pretty much. And then retreat happened, and I cried in front of them first. And it kind of fully broke everyone down. I mean, at the time, I had some pretty bad heart problems. Doctors pretty much said that I could die at any moment.
Man.
So I was in a bad spot. And, I cried in front of them, and it broke them down. The whole room was sobbing. It was killer. And now everybody's very, very open. Everybody, even new guys that show up realize...
Kind of get the vibe.
Yeah, we care about each other. And it's really nice. It's a whole lot better than it used to be. So it's nice. We do retreat every semester now, so kind of stuck with them. And yeah, I would say nowadays I wouldn't say frequent. They're still dudes. They still have trouble crying, but they're much more open to crying in front of each other. So
yeah, that's cool. I feel like having someone that you can cry in front of, like easily accessible, is like
it's huge.
It's an important thing that too many people think like, oh, I don't need that, but it's like it's really
you
useful.
need it. Yeah. Especially just someone to, even if you don't want to cry in front of them, just someone to hug. Yeah. If you just get a hug and take a couple breaths, it's huge.
They say, I read this book that was saying like a 20-second hug can be like, can change your day.
Huge. Yeah.
Yeah, I try and give my wife a 20-second hug every day because of that. It's like
makes your day better.
Yeah. Now I gotta pry.
Go for it.
The heart stuff. Can you tell me about that? Like.
Sure. So for a while, I was pretty much like my sophomore year, I was getting weird heart pain, just randomly, and it wasn't like I couldn't tell what it was related to. So, the engineer in me was just like, oh, I'm going to find the cause of this. And I couldn't ever find the cause. And so I went to the doctor, and they said it was stress. And I was like, okay, well, I don't really get stressed out very often. I didn't feel stressed at the time. So I was like, okay, whatever. Like, I'll just try and limit my stress. So I reeled back from some of my activities and kind of just focused on myself a little bit, and the pain didn't go away. And so I went to another doctor. They said that it was stress, and I went to a third doctor, and that doctor said it could have been blood clots. that like my legs might be producing blood clots,
Oh.
which if one passed through my heart would have killed me.
Yeah.
So when I talked to that guy, I was like, oh my God, like this,
Yeah.
I could die from this.
Yeah.
And before talking to him, I had a couple instances where I kind of just had I've always had an arrhythmia, so I thought maybe that could have been it. And I had a couple instances where my heart really skipped a beat and I passed out.
Oh man.
So I had 3 instances of that over the summer, and that was after my initial heart pain. So all of that combined into one was like, okay, I'm pretty unhealthy right now. Something's going on. And so I went to a couple doctors, and pretty much what it boiled down to was I was so stressed out, I didn't know I was stressed out. And so I was borderline in like this constant panic attack.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know I was stressed. And so it took a lot of time of just like limiting myself from everything. I had to cut back from hanging out. I had to cut back from, spending time with friends that I used to spend all my day with. Spent less time at the frat, spent less time going to school even, just pretty much cut back on everything. And over time, my co-op helped a lot with that, but over time it kind of just started to fix itself. And so now I don't get the heart pains anymore. I still have the arrhythmia, which I think I've always had. We just didn't notice it. And my heart's doing a whole lot better. The doctors say I'm not really at risk anymore, but it was bad for a little bit.
Dang. So what were like, I know you kind of touched on it, but what were some of the biggest stressors like?
So school was definitely the biggest. I've always been a little bit I'm definitely not a perfectionist, but I always strive to do well in school, and I was struggling with school at the time. So that was probably my biggest stressor. Social friendships was kind of the second stressor.
In what way?
Just like making sure that I kept up with everybody. Yeah. I really like talking to people, and I know a lot of people. And at the time, I was an RA, so I couldn't go out. I couldn't, because RAs are like, you're not allowed to go drinking with students and that type of stuff. So I couldn't go out. I couldn't go to like Greek parties or anything. So it was literally, I was almost cutting out a big group of my friends from like my weekends. And that really put a heavy toll on my heart. And then also not being around my now fiance. I was a little bit stressed out. This was not early in our relationship, but during a time that I was like, all right, if we can make it through this, then like we're set. But at the same time, it was a little rocky. And so just the combination of all 3 was really stressing me out. And I found out that I do actually have anxiety as well. So I didn't even know I had anxiety. So the 3 of those, as well as the anxiety, all stacked on top of each other, was enough that I didn't even know I was that I was anxious.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, that's one of the things I wanted to like peel back in this podcast is like, from the professor's standpoint, it's like so many students are just things like in the attendance line. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, it's so easy to just be like, oh, it's easy to make this requirement, or easy for me to not like really gauge difficulties of my exams or things like that, and just make it whatever it is. And it's like, this is expectation. But like, I think like more and more, it's important to take in that factor. Like it's not just you; it's every single person in that classroom that's dealing with something along those lines. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just gonna say it's tough. It's hard to figure out.
Yeah, it's like, all you made me think of. Well, you made me think of a couple of things, but one of the things that you really made me think of was I had this friend in undergrad whose brother had like leg pain, like kind of this persistent leg pain, and it turns out like their largest vein in their left leg was entirely clotted. Like the entire thing was a clot, and so he had to like cut like the whole length of his leg open and like remove the vein.
Pull out a bunch of chunky blood.
I think it was the whole vein that they removed.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, and they had to do some grafting or whatever. Yeah, and so
it's scary.
Yeah, it's like, I feel like the older I get, the more stories I hear about like things that can go wrong with your body, and the more I'm like terrified, like
Oh yeah.
that thing's gonna happen to me. Yeah.
You know the saying ignorance is bliss truly
Exactly.
is
Yeah. I'd rather not know about
bliss.
bad body problems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. The less I know, the better. And my fiance's parents are doctors, so I know too much now.
Oh
And
God.
it's like, I didn't want to know that. I didn't want to know that I could one day just drop and have
Yeah.
zero clue what happened.
Yeah, like a brain aneurysm. It's
Yeah,
terrifying.
terrifying.
Yeah, I had a professor in undergrad that had a brain aneurysm in her office and died. Just
Instantly, just gone.
yeah.
Zero clue what happened. You're just dead. It's
Yeah.
terrifying.
Yeah.
Nothing you even did wrong either. Or you could be fully healthy and just randomly.
So now to completely change the topic, how many grapes do you think you can fit in your mouth?
Grapes in my mouth. I've actually tried this. What color grapes? Are we going white grapes or purple grapes?
Oh, purple grapes.
Purple grapes.
Yeah.
And are we going Japanese grapes or are we going American grapes?
Oh God, I gave you a little pre-interview, and you should have told me how much you knew about grapes because I did not know you were going to know this much. We're talking about Japanese grapes, I guess.
Japanese grapes are big.
Are they?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
they're very expensive too. Most Japanese fruit is very expensive, but Japanese grapes are a little bit bigger. They are, I'd say, probably close to the size of a ping pong ball, and I would say I could probably fit 4 in my mouth.
Okay, so what about like the more common American grape?
I don't know the names of any of them, so I'm just going by culture and location.
Yeah.
The American grapes, I fit, when I did it, 13 in my mouth.
13?
13.
Okay.
Which is a pretty good number. I feel
yeah.
like that was pretty good. You know, I don't know. I don't have a scale, sadly, but
It's I brought this up in a class a while ago, and I was surprised how many students know this number.
Yep.
Like it's like a thing that people know. It's like, oh, why don't I know my number?
you gotta try. You got a big bag of
Yeah,
grapes.
yeah.
I mean, how many can I fit in my mouth?
Yeah, I think I have to try it.
It's funny. I think it's a really funny activity, especially with other people, because then you start laughing, and then it makes it way harder. To
like
keep
they'll
the
fall
grapes.
out. Yeah, that's an excellent thing. Yeah. If you could ask every professor, like at the start of class, you could ask them one question, and they were completely open and honest with you. And I'll give you the opportunity that I might do that too. But what question would you ask? If you think you'd get the biggest bang for your buck?
I think a lot of people would ask about exams.
Okay.
Or grading, not even grading scales, but they'd ask like maybe where you keep your exams.
Yeah.
Going on a little Grand Theft Auto, or little adventure, but I think I'd probably ask. I don't know. That's a good question. I like to learn things for myself, and I like to figure it out, and I do that best with other people. So I would probably ask who your best student was the previous semester. And if they're still on campus, I'd try and befriend them and work with them to help me learn the class better.
Yeah.
Because it'd probably be your best/nicest student that did well in the class.
Just to get some like sage advice type
Yeah,
stuff.
just to, have someone that I could shoot questions at that knows the material and would know other than the professor, like I can shoot questions at you. I mean, especially with your office hours, you're very open to answering questions, but I don't know. I think I just learn better from other students, people around my age that I can sit with in the library and just throw ideas at to try and figure things out.
There's lots of studies that show like you learn best when you're learning from your peers. And so I know it sucks. Like it always seems like this corny thing. And I'm like, all right, turn to your neighbor and talk to each other. And it's like, oh God.
I don't want to talk to these people.
But there's actually like a value. There's a reason why we do that, because like if you're like, I have no clue, then at least you like feel like you're together in this. Yeah, I think like, and it's a hard thing to do, but I wish that I could find ways to have like the whole class talk together more, because it's easy. Like at least my mentality was when I was in class is like if the professor were to ask a question and one student raised their hand and know the answer, you'd be like, crap, like
someone knows this.
What's like. It's almost easy to think like the whole class knows the answer and I'm the only one that doesn't. But really, it really is just one person
one
raised their
person
hand.
knew it. Right.
Yeah, and so I think like having this perspective of like where everyone's at and like talking about, you know, what's, I don't know. I wish there was a way to have that better communication channel, but the thing is no one wants to like use like Canvas discussions or anything like that. They're kind of lame. So,
you know, I think it's also pretty tough. So my roommates currently, they make fun of me for it, but I say socializing is easy, and it's a skill that you have to train. And they make fun of me for it because I am a very social person, but they're like, oh, you just know how to talk to people. Yeah. And in reality, it's you have to attempt to talk to people to learn how to talk to people. And I feel very bad for people that have trouble with that because like it's really fun to talk to people and you meet some cool people. Just you would never be able to do it unless you reach out first. Yeah. And I've noticed a lot throughout my this is now my 4th year here, but throughout my years here that like there's some really cool people that are really fun to talk to that just don't like starting conversations.
Yeah, it's we have to trade hats.
All right, that's a good idea.
Right now.
I like that idea.
Yeah. All right.
Looks good on you.
Yeah, it's for those of you that are only listening through audio, he's got this weird rimless hat. I don't know. It's not a stocking cap.
I call it the Yankee with no brim with no Yankee. Have you seen that video before?
No,
oh my gosh. There's just this stupid meme of this guy that is wearing a Yankees hat, but he cut the brim off his hat. And you can see where he cut the brim off the hat.
It's all rough.
And some guy walks up and it just starts yelling at him. He's got the Yankee with no brim. And so I've got the Yankee with no brim with no Yankee.
Yeah. So, cool. The hat looks good. Matches your sweater too. The one you got.
It's nice.
Yeah. So, anyways, back to the idea of having conversations.
Sure.
It's really goofy. Like I talk a lot too. Like I talk like way too much. But like my wife tells me that I can't live in silence. Like even like if I'm just like in the kitchen alone, I'll be like, I do this really weird thing. Like if I were to put these cameras in my house, you guys would be surprised by some of like the weirdest stuff I do. But like I walk around, like if I have to reach up for something, I'll go like and I'll like get it down, and it's yeah. Anyway, so my wife tells me I can't live in silence, and that's probably an astute observation because like even if I'm on the elevator, like with this person I've never met, I'm like I need to talk to this person.
Oh yeah,
it's really weird. I'm not talking.
Yep.
And so I'll like ask like a question. I'll be like, hey, how good are you at golf? Or like something like, and but it's pretty much every time I ask a question, someone will like light up because I just like ask them a question, and yeah. So I think like my advice is just like ask stupid questions because it's like, well, that's a weird question, but then it like
I want to answer that.
Yeah, and then it just kind of like organically grows from there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's nice. I would agree. I usually I usually find the quietest person in the room. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to talk to you, and you're going to talk to me, and we're going to have a fun conversation because I know you've got something funny. Yeah. And I'll always, one good example from, at least from microcontrollers, his name's Chase. He's a very nice person. And I sit next to him in lab. Insanely smart. One of the smartest people. He's so good at coding, it is unreal. And I've only talked to him a couple times. He's, I wouldn't say he's secluded at all, but he is just a little bit quieter. Very, very nice guy. And I would have never talked to him if I didn't just just talk to him in lab. Yeah. And I asked how he was doing in the lab and if he was already done. He's like, yeah, I finished it before I showed up. I was like, what? How? I didn't even know what was going on. I'm terrible at coding and C. And he's like, yeah, I did it already. He's very impressive. So he's super nice, very nice guy. And he sits actually pretty close to where I sit in microcontrollers. So.
Is he the kid that I was going to get in a foot race with?
No, that's Tony. That's Tony sits on the right. That's to the right of me. Yep. Yeah, that's Tony. Okay. Chase he's got black hair and he likes wearing chacos all the time.
Wait, chacos?
Is that what?
That was a chaco.
The sandals that are from Marquette. I think those are chacos.
I don't know what those are.
I might be wrong.
Okay. I'm thinking it was like a Choco Taco. Have you ever heard of a Choco Taco? They discontinued
just wears those only?
I think I would notice if someone brought Choco Tacos to class.
No, so I think it's Chacos. I could be wrong. They're made in Marquette, and they're just like nice sandals.
Oh, interesting. Is he gonna wear them? Is he still wearing them right now?
I didn't check today.
Okay.
But he was in class today.
Okay, I think you should report out at the end of the semester how many days he wears them.
It's every day. It might. He did wear them last week.
Okay.
So he might. I have to check. Yeah. Well, I'm not going to be here the rest of the week.
Hey,
I'll make Brett check.
What's the closest you ever came to dying? Besides for the heart stuff, is there like any other like near-death experiences you want to like disclose?
I've gotten in a decently bad car accident. I probably wasn't very close to dying in that one. So that's probably one spot. The other time was skiing. I was
because you used to be you are a ski patroller.
Yep.
Nice.
Up at Ripley. I am currently a ski patroller, and this was part of the reason why I got into ski patrol. But when I was younger, I was skiing and. Have you skied before?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. So you know how you like pole plant when you turn?
Yeah.
So I planted my pole in front of my ski.
Oh, and you ran over it?
And I ran over it and face planted. Instant concussion. Knocked myself out for a good 2 minutes and woke up, and I don't remember anything from the rest of the day.
Oh, God.
And I was told everything afterwards, but like I hit my head so hard that I was throwing up everywhere and like fully unable to walk. Should have gone to the hospital, but I wasn't around ski patrol and no one knew what to do. So I just like sat in a room and made sure I didn't fall asleep.
Yeah.
And so very easily could have gotten a brain bleed, could have died. And now that I'm in ski patrol, it's like, oh, I should have died. That should have killed me. But yeah, I'd say that's probably my closest to dying.
Yeah, it's I used to be like this really fearless downhill skier. And I think like they say like around like 24 or 25 is like when your brain like fully finishes developing. And like one of the last things is like your risk reward center. And I think that's what happened to me because I'm like, dude, I could die so easily like skiing.
This is not fun. I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, and so I've kind of like, maybe it's a telling of my age now, but I'm like, I'd rather just cross country ski. But
Sure.
That said, like, my daughter, like, so she's 3 years old now, and once she's to the point where she can ski, I'm totally going to get her in ski lessons because the other thing is, like, I don't really have that many people to, like, downhill ski with. Like, my wife didn't really take to it, and she might pick it back up if my daughter picks it up. But
Sure.
But at least, like, if I'm, like, going slow with my daughter, I can, like, go slow with myself and not feel so bad. But
be safe.
But it's funny, like, little kids, like, skiing, 100% fearless, like,
oh my
no clue
God,
what they're
terrifying. As a ski patrol standpoint, terrifying. They just bomb the hill.
Straight down,
shooting down, and they will hit the ground and bounce and roll and pop right back up.
Yep.
They pop up and they're like, oh, that was fun, and continue on. And you're like, I just watched you break both arms, and they're fine.
I think that's why, like, that's why you got to learn when you're a really young kid.
Yeah.
Because when you're older, you're like, oh, your center of gravity is higher.
You're
and
tense,
you're like,
everything's stressed out, and you fall, and it hurts way more, and it takes way longer to not hurt.
Yeah.
It is funny. I used to help out teaching young kids, and every time I'd see them fall, and I was like, all right, I'm going to take you in, and they're like, no, I feel good. Like, that was fun.
Yeah.
They prefer the falling almost.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. If your wife starts to pick up skiing, do not teach her.
Okay. Bring her to a professional?
Bring her to a never teach a significant other.
Okay.
Terrible idea.
Why is that?
Oh my gosh. I don't know what it is, but every single time that I know someone that's taught their significant other, at the end of the day, they are like at each other's throat, just hating each other for the day.
Interesting.
It's just the hard part, especially if you don't know how to teach. And I would never say I'm a good ski teacher. I was good for kids because I'm patient and I enjoy just like dragging them around and, all right, follow me. And the kids are pretty good at just following the leader. Whereas adults, a lot of people will just say, oh, just do what I'm doing. And adults cannot do that.
Yeah.
They've got their own mindset, their own thought process. And nowadays, especially with intelligent people, if you tell someone to just follow me, they are going to ask every single detail of what you're doing. And then it's just going to be all up in their head and they can't do it.
Yeah.
So instructors, especially up here. If you talk to Dan Delaquest, unreal teacher. He's fantastic. He is a little bit of a hard ass, but very fun to talk to. Very good teacher. So he teaches the advanced skiing class.
Cool. Yeah. Okay, I got one question. I think I got to go teach class at some point here in the next 10 minutes. But so my last question is, what album, after listening to this podcast, what album should someone turn on and give a try, and why should they give it a shot?
So most of the music I listen to is EPs or singles. A lot of the bands I like are a little bit smaller. They don't produce big albums. Like RC Drive, if you've ever heard of them, they're fantastic.
What kind of music?
Indie. It's I like things with real instruments. So like a lot of guitar in it, nice bass, and some good drums in the background is like killer for me. So I like RC Drive the band, but if you were going to go for an album, it would probably be Mount Joy by Mount Joy, if you've heard of them before. Fantastic.
Also indie?
More indie folk kind of music. Everybody that listens to this is going to be like, oh, he has no idea what he's listening to. But Mount Joy is like indie, folk, country, all mixed together. But it's not like it's a country song. It's like just for people that like music that probably live in the woods type of vibe. So it's super nice. It's good music. For Rose and I's wedding, it will be our first dance song will be Mount Joy. So it was super cool.
Our first dance was to a Metallica song.
Nice.
Yeah, well,
that's awesome.
It was like when we were in high school. Like I don't know if it was like this when you were in high school, but you have to pick a song. Like that's our song when you're in high school. Was that the way it was for you? Or?
Not really. Rose and I have a song that's our song, but it wasn't like a big push.
That was something that at least when my wife and I were in high school it was, and so our song was "Nothing Else Matters" by Metallica, and so it's like the acoustic opening and all that. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Okay, so Mount Joy.
Mount Joy by Mount Joy.
Okay, I'll have to give it a listen.
It's a good one.
So this is the end of episode 2.
Episode 2. Yeah. Technically 1 because we started at 0.
Technically 1. We started indexing at 0. That's right. Yeah, we're at least I'm an electrical engineer here, so I've got to do that. So, I suppose the thing to say to the listeners is it's a new podcast. Give me all the feedback you can. We now have an email address. It's LIMO, LIMO at mtu.edu. Give us all the feedback you want or any thoughts. And also, if you or any of your friends might know somebody that'd be interested to sit in that really uncomfortable. What do you think about the comfortability?
It's decently comfortable. It's a little bit of a trap. Yeah, you kind of sit in it and then you sink really low unknowingly, but it's a nice chair. I like it.
Anyways, if you can think of someone that you want to hear in that chair and me try to peel back the layers a little bit. So the website to do it at is oberloyer.com, oberlawyer.com/limo, and so there'll be all of our other episodes and some other information about the podcast, and also you can fill out a form and let me know who I should talk to and why I should talk to them. So, cool. All right, thank you so much, Jack.
Of course, thank you for having me.
All right, keep it real, everybody.